Darkness has tried many tactics, but your light still stands. And here's the deeper mystery. The enemy doesn't just fear you, sometimes he seeks you. Because even the darkness recognizes the authority of the chosen. There are moments when demonic forces approach not to destroy, but to distract, to deceive, even to beg for mercy. They know their time is short, and they know that a fully awakened chosen one can dismantle their influence with a single word of truth. But don't be deceived by their desperation. They will offer help, solutions, shortcuts. They will whisper flattery and feigned friendship. But behind every offer is a chain, a hidden cost, a trap dressed as treasure. As the chosen, you must ask not just, "What is this?" but "Where is this from?" God never sends anything with strings attached. His gifts come with peace, not confusion, with clarity, not compromise. And your spirit knows the difference. So trust it. You're never meant to blend in. You're always meant to illuminate. To stand out, to shift the atmosphere, to carry hope into chaos, to speak life into death. This is why the darkness watches you. But you have nothing to fear, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world, and this is just the beginning. Every chosen one must understand this truth. The moment you are marked by heaven, you also became marked by hell. Not for destruction, because the enemy knows he cannot destroy what God has sealed, but for distraction, deception, and derailment. The battle against you is not about your past. It's about your future. It's about what you're about to become, what you're about to build, and the lives you are destined to change. That is why spiritual warfare has followed you through every season, sometimes silent, sometimes fierce, but always intentional. The enemy's most effective tactic against the chosen is not brute force, but subtle infiltration. He doesn't always knock down your door. He often walks in through one you left cracked open. He exploits wounds that were never healed, insecurities that were never surrendered, relationships that were never consecrated. He watches closely not because you are weak, but because you are powerful. Scripture tells us in 1 Peter 5-8, "Be alert and of sober mind." Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. But what's often missed is that the lion doesn't roar when it's hunting. It roars when it's desperate, when it's cornered, when it knows it has little time left. And for the chosen ones, this is precisely what is happening. The enemy is loud because he is losing, but that doesn't mean his schemes won't come cloaked in beauty. He will not always send storms. Sometimes he sends sunshine. He presents counterfeit callings, opportunities that look divine but lack the spirit. He sends relationships that mimic godliness but carry manipulation. He offers platforms before you've been planted. He opens doors that were never meant to be yours, hoping your impatience will walk through them, and so the chosen must learn to test everything not in suspicion, but in wisdom. One of the first strategies the enemy uses is emotional manipulation. He knows that chosen ones feel deeply. Their compassion, sensitivity, and discernment are gifts, but if not guarded, they become entry points. The enemy sends people who pretend to be broken, needing help, but their true mission is to drain, confuse, and distract. These aren't just toxic relationships, they are assignments from darkness. They don't just wear you out, they pull you off track. You'll recognize them by how they make you feel after they leave. You may feel heavy, agitated, confused, or distant from God. That's the residue of spiritual pollution. And if you ignore it long enough, your discernment dulls, your focus blurs, your authority weakens. Not because God left, but because you allowed something else to enter. Another tactic is false urgency. The enemy wants you rushing instead of resting. He whispers lies like, "You're behind. Everyone else is further than you." Or, "If you don't take this opportunity now, you'll miss your chance." But God's timing is never built on panic. It is rooted in peace. The enemy will try to make you chase what God has already promised to bring. Because if he can keep you striving, he can keep you distracted. Remember, anything that costs your peace is too expensive. No matter how good it looks, the third strategy is mental invasion. The enemy studies your thought patterns, your traumas, your fears, and then plants lies dressed as your own voice. "I'm not enough. No one understands me. Maybe I'm imagining all of this. What if I'm not really chosen?" These are not passing thoughts. They are spiritual arrows. And if you don't guard your mind, you'll start rehearsing those lies until they become your truth. That's why Ephesians 6:17 tells us to take the helmet of salvation to protect your mind with the identity that was purchased for you at the cross. You don't earn being chosen. You walk in it. You don't prove your worth. You rest in it. The moment you begin striving for validation is the moment you step outside your authority. Another tactic used against the chosen is dream manipulation. When the enemy realizes he can't reach you in your waking hours, he may attempt to plant fear, confusion, or temptation in your dreams. Night after night, you wake up heavy, anxious, or shaken. These are not just bad dreams. They are spiritual attacks. But take heart, dreams are also where God reveals warnings and directions. What the enemy means for confusion, God can use for clarity if you seek him. There's also the trap of spiritual imitation. The enemy will attempt to make you settle for a version of your calling that is diluted, distorted, or disconnected from God's presence. He'll convince you to water down your message so you're more accepted. He'll nudge you to stay silent when you're called to speak. He'll encourage you to play small to keep the peace. But make no mistake, compromise is not peace. It's the slow death of purpose. Chosen ones were never called to fit in. They were called to stand out, to provoke, to shift, to awaken. And the enemy knows that once you fully embrace who you are, you become unstoppable. That's why he'll try everything to confuse your identity. He'll bring up your past. He'll use people's opinions. He'll twist scripture. But you must stand. You must root yourself in the truth of who God says you are. You're not fragile. You are fortified. You are not lost. You are led. You are not broken. You are becoming. And no attack, no scheme, no lie can change the fact that you are chosen by God and sealed with purpose. This understanding will strengthen your discernment. You'll begin to sense motives in conversations. You'll walk into rooms and instantly feel the atmosphere. You'll stop entertaining distractions because you recognize their design. You'll no longer engage every invitation, respond to every opinion, or explain yourself to every critic. You'll move in quiet authority, knowing that your alignment with God is louder than any applause or accusation. When a chosen one fully steps into their identity, something in the atmosphere changes. The air becomes clearer. The room becomes charged. People begin to watch without understanding why. It is not your appearance, nor your charisma. It is the unseen glory of God resting upon your life. You no longer move like everyone else because you no longer carry what everyone else does. You have been entrusted with spiritual authority, and with that authority comes the daily call to walk it out, not in arrogance, but in alignment. Authority is not about volume. It's not about how loud you pray or how many verses you quote. True spiritual authority flows from intimacy. It's birthed in the quiet place, in the moments when no one is watching, when your tears become intercession and your silence becomes worship. The deeper your connection to God, the clearer your command in the Spirit. Authority comes when heaven recognizes your voice, not because of your title, but because of your time spent in His presence. Luke 10:19 declares, "I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions and to overcome all the power of the enemy. Nothing will harm you." This promise is not symbolic, it is literal. You were never meant to live afraid of spiritual warfare. You are meant to confront it, dismantle it, and replace it with the presence of God. And this begins with how you walk daily. When you wake up, the atmosphere should respond. Hell should tremble. Heaven should lean in. Because when a chosen one rises in alignment, the plans of the enemy must adjust. You carry light, and wherever you go, darkness must recede. But this requires intentionality. You cannot walk in authority if you live on autopilot. Authority begins with posture. When your heart is surrendered, when your thoughts are disciplined, when your spirit is tuned in, you become a force in the unseen realm. The enemy loses grip not because you're strong in your flesh, but because you're hidden in the Spirit. Authority isn't a mask you wear, it's the identity you carry when you know who your Father is. With authority comes clarity. Your discernment sharpens. You begin to recognize the difference between spiritual weight and emotional noise. You no longer react to every offense, every challenge, every emotion. You respond with precision. You understand that not every battle requires your sword. Some require your stillness. Some require your silence. Some require your intercession. And some require your boundaries. This is where many chosen ones stumble. They try to fight everything that comes their way. But maturity teaches you that authority is not always about action, it's about position. When you stay positioned in the Spirit, heaven fights for you. The battle becomes the Lord's, and your role becomes obedience. You learn to guard your peace like a soldier guards a city. You no longer give access to every voice, every invitation, every connection. You walk with intentional circles, people who speak life, who understand the cost of your calling, who don't drain your oil. You don't isolate, but you do insulate. Because the more authority you carry, the more sacred your atmosphere becomes, and as your discernment grows, you begin to see beneath the surface. Conversations reveal more than words. Environments carry unseen currents. You sense when a door is divine and when it's disguised. This discernment isn't paranoia, it's protection. It keeps you aligned. It prevents detours. It allows you to move in timing, not just opportunity. One of the clearest signs of walking in authority is your impact on others. People begin to open up around you. They confess things they've never told anyone. They ask you to pray without knowing why. They feel peace just being near you. That is the Spirit of God flowing through you. You become a well in a dry land. You become an answer to silent prayers. But this authority must be stewarded with humility. The moment pride enters, the power fades. God shares His glory with no one. You don't lead from a pedestal, you lead from the feet of Jesus. You don't boast in your gifting, you boast in His grace. You don't chase recognition, you pursue righteousness. The chosen must also remain teachable. Authority does not mean you know everything. It means you're willing to be led. Correction is not rejection. It is refinement. Stay near those who can tell you the truth. Stay connected to the Word that grounds you. Stay in communion with the Spirit who reveals all things. Because authority without accountability becomes dangerous. You will find that as your authority grows, so does your responsibility. God begins to trust you with deeper things, conversations that shift lives, assignments that alter generations, prayers that birth miracles. You become a spiritual midwife, helping others deliver what heaven has planted within them. You speak, and chains fall. You lay hands, and healing flows. You whisper a word, and atmospheres change. This is not fantasy. This is kingdom, and it's available to every chosen one who walks in obedience, surrender, and alignment, but don't let the miracles distract you. Stay anchored. The power is never the goal. The presence is. Miracles are signs, they are not. The destination. The goal is intimacy. The goal is likeness. The goal is becoming more like Jesus every day. The journey of a chosen one is not defined by a single encounter, a single breakthrough, or even a season of fire. It is defined by faithfulness over time. It is the quiet, steady yes when no one is watching. It is the hidden obedience that writes history in heaven. Because many can burn bright for a moment, but the chosen are called to burn steady for a lifetime. And to do that, you must protect your flame. Every great move of God begins with fire, but that fire must be sustained. Not through emotion, but through devotion. Not through hype, but through discipline. The flame of awakening is a gift, but its endurance is your responsibility. And that means cultivating a life that is deeply rooted, consistently nourished, and fiercely guarded. John 15:5 reminds us of this truth when Jesus says, I am the vine. You are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. To remain is to endure. It is to stay connected through storms, through silence, through struggle. Because the secret to lasting. Authority is not power, it's proximity. The closer you stay to him, the brighter your light remains. Even when the world grows cold, even when the path grows narrow, even when others fall away, one of the first steps in preserving your flame is developing a lifestyle of consistent intimacy. That means your secret place is not optional, it is essential. It's not just for crises or big decisions. It's your daily bread. It's where you hear heaven. It's where you receive fresh oil. Because yesterday's fire is not enough for today's battles. Every day, you must return to the source. There will be seasons when the presence of God feels overwhelming, tangible, electric, alive. But there will also be seasons where he seems silent, hidden, distant. Those are not punishments. They are invitations to deeper trust. In those times, don't pull away. Press in. When feelings fade, faith must rise. That's when roots are formed. That's when character is refined. Another way to preserve your flame is guarding your focus. Distraction is one of the enemy's favorite weapons. He doesn't need you to fall, he just needs you to drift. A little compromise here, a little comparison there. Before long, your fire flickers, your clarity dims, your passion wanes. That's why you must guard your gates, your eyes, your ears, your mind. What you consume shapes your spirit. Be mindful of the content you entertain, the voices you allow, the conversations you entertain. Not everything is evil, but not everything is edifying. And the chosen cannot afford spiritual junk food. You need nourishment that fuels purpose and fans your flame. You must also rest without guilt. Burnout is not a badge of honor. Rest is worship. Jesus himself withdrew often to lonely places to pray, to reset, to reconnect. The pace of your life should not outpace the grace upon your life. Honor the Sabbath. Honor your body. Honor the temple you've been entrusted with. In preserving your flame, community remains vital. You weren't designed to carry the fire alone. Isolation breeds exhaustion. But when you surround yourself with other burning ones, your flame is strengthened. You remind each other of your why. You lift each other when one grows weak. You become fire starters for one another. And yes, you will face opposition. There will be spiritual attacks. There will be moments when quitting feels easier than continuing. But those moments are when you remember why you started. You remember that this isn't about a platform or applause. It's about obedience. It's about pleasing the one who called you. And if he brought you this far, he will sustain you. The enemy will try to convince you that your fire is fading. But don't listen. The flame is still there. Sometimes it's a wildfire. Sometimes it's a flicker. But it's there. All it takes is a whisper, a worship song, a moment in the Word. And the wind of God will breathe on it again. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not disqualified. You are still chosen, and if you fall, get up. If you wander, come back. If you feel empty, let him fill you. There is no condemnation. For those in Christ, there is only grace. There is only invitation. And the same Spirit that called you still walks with you in time. Your flame will become a torch. Something that not only lights your path, but leads others through the darkness. You'll see the fruit not just in your life, but in those around you. Families restored, lives changed, hearts healed. Not because you were perfect, but because you were faithful. That's what it means to finish well, not to be applauded, but to be obedient, not to be famous, but to be faithful, not to be comfortable, but to be committed. You are never called to a moment. You are called to a mission. So preserve your flame, keep your altar burning, and let your life be a continuous yes, because your story is still being written, and heaven is watching, and the world is waiting, and you, chosen one, were made for such a time as this.